Are we
Hello
recording?
there. Stop it. I hate this game that you have of waiting every single month that we do DBAle. I am not grateful, nor am I happy for this, Christopher Kurzweil.
I am extremely happy.
Speaking of which, what is your middle name?
Papa.
I know it begins with a P, but if I could just get that, plus also the first school you attended and...
Yeah, my middle name is Pangola.
Pangola, okay. Pangola. Pangola? Pang.
No, Pangola, like the country.
Oh. But... I'm so confused. Oh my gosh. Anyway, hello there, everybody, and welcome to a very confusing edition of DBAle. That is, of course, we are doing DBAle³. Yes, it almost seems impossible that it's been so long that you've been listening to our beautiful voices. But it has been, semi-beautiful voices and... it has been 3 years. 3 years of DBAle. Can you believe it, Chris?
I think it might have been longer, you know. I don't think we've been all that regular on doing it every single month, especially when we began.
I think there's been, I don't know, I think
the first year we had 10 episodes. I hate to break it to you, but I think you're late. I think we're already 3 years.
Well, yeah, I knew we were 3 years, but now we've got 3 years worth of monthly episodes. So we'll just go with that, okay?
Yeah. I wonder how long it would take if you distilled all the content into stuff that was actually useful.
I was going to say if you listened to them back to back, but I would assume that it would be about 36 hours.
Yeah. Wow, that would be painful.
A day and a half of just listening to us non-stop, everywhere, no sleep, no toilet breaks, just Chris and Chris.
The DBAle challenge, drink a different beer every single hour.
Oh, that's great.
If anyone wants to do it, let us know.
If anyone wants to do the DBAle challenge and drink 36 beers?
Yes.
No. If anybody wants to do a DBAle challenge.
Beers.
Oh, plus yeah, guests. Good point. Plus guests. Okay, if anybody wants to do a DBAle challenge with us that may or may not involve...
Whoa. What do you mean with us?
With us?
We can come up
with a challenge. It's fine. If anybody wants to do a DBAle challenge with myself and Chris, let us know. Send us an email, dbale@red-gate.com, or tweet us or email us or whatever. Just let us know. And we will do some kind of DBAle challenge. I don't know, maybe a centurion or something like that, whilst we also talk about database DevOps. But coming up on this episode, no centurion, sadly, but what we will be talking about is the International Week of...
I'm reminded that every time you say our email address or ask for tweets of the Keenan and Kel episode where they have a radio show that's on at like 4 a.m. and they ask for people to call in, and they only get one person calling in who just wants to talk about Star Trek.
Yeah, but have you seen Star Trek Discovery?
Deep Space Nine.
No. Deep Space Nine is the worst. Oh my gosh.
You say that about everything.
No, I don't. Not about Voyager. I love Voyager.
I actually
Next
don't
Generation.
know which one Deep Space Nine is. Which one's Deep Space Nine?
Commander Cisco. It's not. There's not even a starship. You don't even know, Chris. You don't even know.
I will admit that I have no idea.
All right.
No idea about Star Trek. I know that Patrick Stewart is in one series.
Yes, that will be the Next Generation.
Okay.
He is Captain Jean-Luc Picard. Anyway, so moving swiftly on, what you could expect from this episode. Well, this month's episode is themed all around the International Week of Happiness at Work and World Gratitude Day that just so happened to come together into this beautiful synergy of happiness and gratitude. So we thought we would bring you some of the things that make us happy at work, some of the things we are grateful for, and also some of our top tips for being happier in the workplace. Then, of course, we will follow that up with the news.
Oh.
Beautiful. Anyway,
Thanks.
yeah, we'll follow that up with the news. And
why don't you ever do a metal one, like a real throaty, like?
Don't want to hear the DBAle news. Anyway,
that's not very metal.
No, it's not. I was the first thing that popped into mind. Anyway, that's right. Today's theme is about happiness at work and also gratitude. So we're going to be talking about a few interrelated things. But of course, we're going to have to start out with something that it wouldn't be, DBAle wouldn't be without. And that, of course, is beer. That's right. We haven't even done an intro, but Chris and myself, that's right. Also, Chris, we will today be drinking a very special beer that we're both very grateful for. What are we drinking, Chris?
I don't know. I genuinely have no idea. Shout out to Jonny Byatt for getting it for us, but this is one of his mates' homebrews.
Absolutely. So our friend Jonny, our friend and colleague who we work with, Jonny has managed to procure us two mystery beers, which he procured us just before the kickoff of the coronavirus pandemic. Yes. And of course, they were left on our desks in the office, just as we were told that we should no longer come into work. So this beautiful bottle of ale or beer or I don't even know what it is. This beautiful brown bottle has been sat on my, in fact, both of ours, has been sat on my desk for 1.5 years of homebrew on its own.
I genuinely don't know if we open it, if we should open it or not, but here goes. If we die, then maybe this will become the best DBAle episode ever. Absolutely.
So are we ready, Chris? Let's get these open.
Yeah. If it explodes, then I'm blaming you.
Okay, opened with relatively little fuss.
Okay. There's a fizz. It smells like beer.
It does smell like beer, actually.
It smells quite nice as well. It pours.
I'm really nervous about this, Chris. It's quite lively, actually.
Is that a good sign? Bad sign. It's
really
very fizzy. You're right.
It is. It is. It smells a little bit like a Weiss beer.
Yeah, the fact it's so sweet is making me worry a little bit that it's probably been fermenting in bottle, but we'll see. We'll see.
Oh dear. Oh my goodness. It's so bubbly. Right. Anyway.
Smells good.
Thanks,
Looks
Jonny.
good.
Thanks, Jonny's friend, for brewing. And cheers, Chris. Let's hope we don't go blind.
Cheers. That is so fizzy.
It's really fizzy and it tastes quite potent.
Super fizzy. It's like drinking carbonated water.
I can taste. What can I taste?
Alcohol.
I can taste alcohol. That's about it. I'm getting like an iron note on the back of the tongue.
It's really, really sweet.
It's really nice. Like it's quite
nice.
drinkable, but I already feel warm. And I've only had 2 sips.
2 Chris
Let's
Unwin
see.
sips though. That's like half the beer's gone.
No, I've still got plenty, but it is. Yeah, it seems like the carbonation's cooling down now. But
We've got a notable difference in the amount of head. Like mine is gone. Yours is still very persistent.
yeah, but mine is. I've got a much smaller glass as well.
That could be it. Could be it.
Cool. All right. So we've got our beers, Chris. What next?
Oof, I've forgotten.
Oh, I'm glad you prepare for these things. Right. So we're
Why
actually going to talk.
are there 4 of you? Oh wait, no, one of them's me. It's okay.
I don't even know. To be fair, that is, I'm already starting to feel warm. When I said I'm starting to feel warm, I wasn't lying. I can feel it under my cheeks. But yeah, okay. So today we're going to be talking about the International Week of Happiness and World Gratitude Day. So specifically, we're talking about ways that we are happy at work, things that we are grateful for. So one of the things that I find works really well, and this isn't actually one of the tips for being happier in the workplace. Like we're going to talk about, we talked about tips on remote working when this whole thing kicked off, and we actually did our first DBAle from home. I think maybe it was like the half episode. I don't know, but one of the things that I've found myself doing an awful lot to help with my own kind of happiness and peace of mind from home is I found myself practicing affirmations. Affirmations. So every morning.
Is that looking in the mirror and telling yourself how great you are?
Yeah, exactly. So I will go upstairs and I will, clean my teeth after having my breakfast or whatever. And I will just take a minute and I will stand and look at myself in the mirror and I will just tell myself to go out, absolutely smash it, and just that I believe in myself. And it makes me smile because it's super cringe, but then I feel quite positive and upbeat about it. And I've watched a lot of TikToks of like people like getting their kids to do affirmations, and like they're doing their hair or like brushing their teeth or whatever. You've just got these kids going, I am kind, I am independent, I am strong. And you're just like, what a way to start the day as a kid. Oh my gosh. Isn't that amazing? So I started doing it and now I feel great.
Oh, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, I think so. So I'm very, very grateful, and I like practicing that gratitude in general. But anyway, that's one thing that I do to feel a bit more upbeat, a bit more positive with myself, telling myself how amazing I am. Because no one else is, Chris.
Yeah, I've been told I'm not allowed to be mean on this episode.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
I don't really know what to say.
Well, in that case, then we should probably talk about the first thing that we have to talk about, which is ways that Redgate makes us happy. So obviously you and I both work for Redgate, and we have done for...
We do
for quite some time now. So obviously there's things that, there's always things that people don't like about where they work. There's always things that people do like about where they work. What are 3 of the things that make you happy about working at Redgate?
You want me to list all 3 at once?
It's up to you. You could do one. I could do one.
Let's go with me, and then we'll move on to you.
Sounds good.
Cool. All right. My number one has got to be the culture. It is often a cliche that you hear companies talk about how great their culture is. But at Redgate, we talk the talk about the culture and we walk the walk. It's really cool. We're very protective about our culture, and we are very proud about our culture, and we love to sell to people based on our culture. Sell the culture to people who want to join us.
Yeah.
And I really do think it cuts the mustard. It's a notably palpable atmosphere. I think we've even done a pretty good job at transferring that culture to a remote environment and remote working as well. I still, it's hard being remote and still maintaining that culture for sure. And it's not the same as when we were all in the office. Like when we were in the office, when I first started, I still remember my first day, like coming in, and you could just feel this buzz in the office. You could feel that it was a place that people wanted to come and wanted to work. And that makes me happy. It's a really easy thing to talk about. Because it's great, and it's a really affirming thing as well. When everyone's kind of on the same page, everyone's got the same mentality, everyone wants to be there, and everyone wants to do a good job. It's great.
Yeah,
that's my number one thing.
That's really cool.
Should I do number 2, or do you want to do number 1?
You can do number 2 if you like.
Number 2 for me is going to be SQL Monitor. I love me some SQL Monitor. Oh yeah.
See, when we were discussing this, and I said, well, we can pick anything we like. It could be something about Redgate. It could be something that Redgate, develops. It could be anything. And then you were like, oh, that's really interesting. And I went, oh, just because one of yours is going to be SQL Monitor. And you went, no, it's not.
No, I couldn't resist in the end. Like it has to be. I love SQL Monitor. It's a fantastic solution. Does what it does extremely well. The developers do an incredible job, and not only doing what you'd expect and building a great product, but responding to what people want, what people need, baking it into the product, and developing future iterations. It's just, it's fantastic. What more can I say about it that hasn't already been said?
Nice.
If you want to try it yourself, go to monitor.red-gate.com and feel the magic. It is amazing.
Feel the magic as you look through those query plans.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry, it's not quite as exciting as the wonderful world of data masking, but
now you're assuming that that's going to be one of mine.
I mean, I already know that I've robbed you one by saying that. My number 3 is going to be I guess it's kind of similar to culture, but I think it's a separate point. But it's the sheer amount of internal development and growth that happens at Redgate. And it's something that, I really love. I really enjoy seeing people progress through and transition their careers. I think each of us are great examples of that in our own right. The different roles that we've had in Redgate and how we've kind of progressed. But I wouldn't want to talk about that. The other individuals that we see, especially in our team, people come in at quite entry-level positions, learn, develop, move on to the next role, learn, develop, move on to the next role.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of great things to say, and there's so many cool stories of people who started off, like I said, in fairly entry-level roles and went all the way up to extremely senior roles. If you look at our boss, our boss's boss, the head of marketing, if you look at a lot of people at the board level at Redgate, they've been around a long time. They've come from those roles, and there's so many cool stories, success stories, which I'm sure you can find about online, or ask us and we'll be happy to tell you details about. I don't want to go into them all individually because, first of all, we don't have permission for that. Second, because we don't have time to go through every single one. But seeing someone, for example, go from a teacher and transitioning into like a commercial role, or going from a member of the police force and coming into a management role, it's crazy how people grow and develop here. So
I think that's maybe something to be said around sales roles as well, and about the implementation of sales specific roles, because there's a huge stigma out there that salespeople by definition are unhelpful, selfish, money driven. They don't communicate. They actively hinder the people they work with. All of these sorts of negative stereotypes. Oh, they earn a lot of money. They drive a BMW, and nobody likes sales. But I think if you really work hard on your culture, and you also value your employees, and you really put the time into developing those as individuals, then you reap the rewards of that. Because when you have good, positive salespeople who do the right thing. Like, I was on a sales call the other day, and again, we should point out, Chris and myself, we are both, we come from like salesy backgrounds. We are solution engineers, so we're equal parts, right? We're equal parts sales, technology. We both love technology, but we also love, helping people solve their problems. And I think the thing is, when you have the right people in charge of training, and when you have the right ethos about your sales organization, you go from being like Jack the Lad kind of used car salesman who break promises, and you end up with a diverse group of people who love to solve problems. That's the main thing. You will, as a company, you will always make money if you are selling something worthwhile. But the purpose of having salespeople is to help align those worthwhile technologies with problems that people face in the real world. And that's one thing I really love about Redgate. It's not actually one of my points, but just feeding from yours, I think one of the nicest things
you're
I
taking
like.
4 things then. 4.
It's not technically a fourth thing, I suppose. It's more of I just appreciate what you touched on there with the culture and with the development. There are people in our sales organization, for instance, who, money happens for them. They just hit target because they do right by the customer. And if we can't help them with their challenges, we either find out where they can do this, or we point them in the right direction, be that something from Microsoft, Oracle, be that a competitor, for instance. The thing that I really like is that no one at Redgate is ashamed to do the right thing.
I swear, like, if you have any more of that beer, you're going to start crying and saying, I love you, man.
I love you, man.
Like, seriously, though, I do agree very strongly. The commercial team at Redgate is, used car salesman is what people think of when they think of sales.
Yeah.
When you hear sales and you don't know the industry, you think used car salesman, or you think door-to-door salesman, and like slimy tactics and pressure and that kind of thing. And we are very fortunate to work in an organization where we value ethical selling, and it's extremely important to us that we succeed when our customers succeed. It's one of Redgate's core values. I spoke about culture, but we kind of have collectively spoken about culture.
Yeah.
And we're a value-driven company. We succeed when our customers succeed. Yeah. And that means that, we have happy customers that in turn want to use and consume more of our products. It's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. So my point number one, the thing that makes me, the way that Redgate makes me happy, or something about Redgate that makes me happy, I would say, is how understanding Redgate are. If you are a parent and you're working from home, and due to lockdowns, or because, I don't know, your childcare fell through or whatever, and all of a sudden you can only work a half day because your childcare fell through in the afternoon. So you need to be there to pick up your child, to look after them, to make sure they're happy, healthy, etc., and not just, say, dumping them in front of a TV. Or you're not feeling very well. You're probably well enough-ish to work, but actually you'll recover faster if you don't work. Anything like this, normally, in my experience and speaking to other people, a lot of people will say this to their organization, who will say, sorry, can't help you. Oh, that's bad luck. Anyway, as we were saying, Redgate is beyond understanding and is determined to be reasonable with its employees. So if you are in that situation where your childcare falls through, or you are feeling a bit under the weather, or you have a really a poorly child and you're awake with looking after them all night and you've got no sleep, instead of Redgate expecting you to work, expecting you to have the same output as someone who doesn't have those same challenges to deal with, they're reasonable and they say, no, actually, if you need that time, take it. Take it as a sick day. Take it as whatever you need. And we will pick up the slack for you. Work should not be something you do because you fear that without doing it, you won't have a roof over your head. Happier people at work do better work. And as a result of that, if you treat your people right, like Redgate does, then you will end up with the right people. And I think that that's a really admirable thing that Redgate does that very, very few employers do. And I think that's something that employers need to start doing more.
Yes, well said. I think something you said there, which I think is really true, is when you said reasonable. Like reasonableness, again, it's one of those key values. Redgate has always said, we'll be reasonable with you if you're reasonable with us.
Yeah.
And everything kind of stems from that. Exactly.
And the thing about that is that it's not about taking advantage. You're not taking the mickey by going, oh, I only got 6 hours of sleep last night instead of 7. I may as well take the day off. Like, there's a certain amount of give or take. And the belief there is that you don't have to work, you don't have to work 40 hours, like 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday to Friday to be productive. Like, if I'm honest, I could be as productive as I am all week in about 30 hours if you crammed it all in. I mean, that would be stressful as all heck. But, Redgate realizes that people do their best work when they are looked after. And I think that's key. When you're well rested, you're going to do so much better quality work. No, you must sit and work 8 till 5. Well, if I've not slept very well at all, if I haven't slept at all, or I'm sick, then you're going to get very little out of me for the next 2 days. Redgate is net up by effectively saying, yeah, you take the day and then be more productive tomorrow. My second point of something at Redgate that makes me happy is, of course, data masker for SQL Server. Data masker for SQL Server is very close to my heart. It is a tool that I have been using since about 2017. I've been using it for 4 years now. Almost impossible to believe. And Data Masker is just the most wonderful, useful solution, because that's what it is. It can do whatever you need it to do. And yeah, there are some configuration issues sometimes because it can be quite complex. When you pair it with something like Redgate SQL Data Catalog and SQL Clone, then yeah, of course, you've got yourself an end-to-end cataloging, masking, provisioning process for your structured data. But more so than that, I think Data Masker on its own, it can connect to everything from a 2005 SQL Server all the way up to an Azure SQL database or an Azure managed instance. It's cloud ready without even trying. It's fast, it's incredibly powerful, and I think it just does the most tremendous job. What is better than protecting customer information in non-production environments? Honestly, do I need hundreds, thousands, millions of rows of data of actual customers in dev where I don't have nearly the same amount of security as I do in prod? No. Well, then mask it, anonymize it, de-identify it, but keep it meaningful. And that's what data masker comes in.
I am so shocked that you picked
I
data
know.
masker.
Nobody is going to be shocked when they hear this. They'll be like, oh, Chris is talking about data masker again. Must be time for a beer break. This is tasting more irony. Now I'm getting closer to the bottom of the bottle and I'm a bit worried. Literally tastes like iron.
Are you sure that's not just like your own blood?
That or I've got an iron brew.
Hey!
Oppa! Right.
Number 3.
Number 3
I'm
is
tenterhooks.
number 3. What makes me happy about Redgate? Free lunch. No, not free lunch. Free lunch is good. The people.
Yeah.
And I'm moving away from the culture here. Like the culture is an important thing. You brought culture up, but the people, specifically the people. There are some amazing people working at Redgate. Amazing, phenomenal people. And honestly, to build up a professional and in some cases personal relationship with these people has been beyond a pleasure. It's been a privilege, because there are some people who I think are truly amazing people. And it always makes me happy to work with those people, to talk to those people. And, you know, there are certain people at Redgate who, when I speak to, it improves my mood for not just even the rest of the day, like the rest of the week, because they make everything better, or they're so funny, or they're so genuine. Like the people at Redgate are incredible. And I can't say any more on that, like at all. There's nothing else to say other than Redgate is a company of phenomenal people. Whether you're, I'm hesitant to mention people by name, but because I don't want to leave anyone out. But like, there's so many wonderful people in every office as well. So from Brisbane, Cambridge, Austin, Pasadena, Berlin, there are some truly phenomenal people.
Especially Chris. I really appreciate Chris, and Chris. Can't forget Chris. He's great too.
That's true. There's quite a few really wonderful Chris's that we should mention. So yes. Chris and not Chris as well.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. Chris, or sometimes the Jameses, but
we don't talk about Jameses. No, not at all. Right. Anyway, moving on from Jameses, because that was a real downer to end the conversation on. It's all about Chris's.
I love how we sketched out in our notes that this would be the short section, and we've taken like half of the
20 minutes. Yeah. But it's fair. I think it's important to be aware of the things about your job that make you happy, because it's those sorts of things that when you remember, it kind of makes it worthwhile.
Cool. So happy things are good. What makes us happier in the workplace? That was a small segue.
Happy things are good. You are the king of segues. Look at you. Happy things are good does not compute.
I'm usually a lot better after I've not had this much beer.
This beer is potent. It's quite, and I'm supposed to be cooking after this as well. For anyone who doesn't know, we record this at the end of the working day, so we don't record this during working hours. We record this during personal hours. But yeah, it's before dinner time. I'm on an empty stomach, which for me is a travesty. But the beer is quite potent, so it's definitely hitting the spot.
Krish and Krish discuss Redgate.
Thank you, Sean Connery.
Show.
So
3 tips for a happier workplace.
yes, so with it being the International Week of Happiness at Work, Chris and I thought it would be a good idea to tell you some of our tips for being
Hang
a
on.
little bit.
Have you been talking to Chris about DBAle?
I have. I'm sorry.
Man, I feel betrayed.
All right. Well, you know, he could never measure up to you, Chris.
You better believe it.
But we thought we'd share with you a couple of tips for being happier in the workplace. So, do you want to go first, Chris, or shall I?
I'm happy to kick off.
Go on, kick us off.
Kick us off. I'm going to start with communication.
Aha.
Communicate. Especially in the era of remote working. I'm a firm believer that there's no such thing as too much communication when we're working like this. I've heard people say that, yeah, what about Zoom fatigue? And yeah, I do get that. You do sit on a lot of Zoom calls, and it is kind of harder to communicate, but you don't want to get in your own head, and you don't want to sit in your own little world and, you know, spend 20 minutes trying to decipher what someone meant on this exact line of an email, when a lot of the time picking up the phone, talking to them and talking it through, a conversation would make it easier. Communication is key. No such thing as over communication. Like we have like 3 team meetings a week,
which people would say is excessive, right? Like 3 team meetings. Like, you do a stand-up on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Friday.
Yes, and you know, we intentionally upped it when the pandemic hit.
We went from 1 to 3. Yeah,
exactly. We wanted to make sure that we were always available for each other, and always there to just check in with each other. And you know, it's not all about just talking about work, just checking in, catching up. You don't get the same water cooler moments anymore, right? As everyone knows. So just having time to talk, to gossip, to catch up on TV and sport and politics and whatever. It's worthwhile. So yeah, communicate.
Yeah, I think you touch on a really interesting subject there, because you say that there's no such thing as over communicating, which is fair, but there is 100% a thing on under communicating. The number of times it impacts my mental health, because I'm working so hard on something and I've told people this is what I'm working on, and it's only right at the very close, right at the very end, when I've absolutely busted my veritable hump to do a thing, and then someone says, oh yeah, that already exists, it's over there. Or, you know, somebody says, yeah, thanks, and you don't get feedback on something. Or, you know, the thing is, knowledge is a privilege.
Knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power.
Wait,
and if you don't,
Anyway,
but the thing is, with knowledge, if you hoard knowledge, you will be found out. By trying to make yourself a single point of failure because you have all the knowledge and you are the person that everybody goes to, people will realize. Don't be like Brent from the Phoenix Project. Is it Brent? It's Brent.
It's Brent.
Yeah. Don't be like Brent from the Phoenix Project. Brent. It is not fair to hoard all the knowledge. It is not fair to hold all the specialism. Where you can share knowledge, do so, because you will find yourself all the richer for it. Honestly, when people thank you for, or when people demonstrate the fact that they have learnt from you, all of a sudden you now have 5 or 6 other people who have the same knowledge that you do, but because you work well as a team and because you figure it out together and because you communicate, you're in a much better place. And then it doesn't all fall on your shoulders, because what will happen is you dig yourself in and you dig yourself in, you become indispensable, and then you burn out. because all of a sudden everyone's coming to you because no one else knows how to fix the thing.
Yes, for sure.
And that's not fair. And that's a
we've
really good way
said
to
this
be very
before
sad.
as well. Like single points of failure, you're harming your own career development as well. If you are immovable, then that means you can't be promoted.
Oh, we can't promote them. They're much too good.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely fair enough. And I completely appreciate with that. Just one final thing I would add to your communicate point as well is turn your darn cameras on. Now, I realize it's not that easy for some people. And I realize for some people, it gives you...
Not everyone is as beautiful as us.
This is true. But also not everyone has, the generalized anxiety of people being in smaller spaces and having like, all of your dirty clothes piled behind you or something. I get it. I totally get it. And that is absolutely fine. But 80 to 90% of the people out there who don't turn their cameras on just because they don't want to, like, I'm speaking to you, right? Turning on your camera, even just making eye contact, even if it is over a camera, even if it is in a Zoom meeting, it still makes you feel like you're not just screaming into the ether. So turn your camera on, smile a bit, have a good chat with a friend, have a good chat with a colleague. When you see them smile and you start getting those like body language intonations, when you start getting that communication, you'll find yourself relaxing a bit more into these remote meetings, and slightly, Zoom fatigue is all the more exacerbated when you are just shouting into the void.
That's interesting. Because smiling also makes you feel happier. Little known fact.
It does. I always feel happy, Chris, especially when I'm talking to you.
I'm always happy.
Except when I'm not.
All right, what's number 2 then, Chris?
Right, so number 2, I would say, is practice gratitude. Now,
Thank you, Chris.
You're welcome. Thank you, Chris.
Well, you don't just mean your P's and T's, right?
No, I don't just mean please and thank you. With gratitude specifically, I mean calling out someone for something that they have done that would otherwise just drift into obscurity, right? The thing is, people who adopt the mindset of, well, yes, they should do that, it's their job. Well, next time, think about it. What is the bare minimum of that person's job?
Minimum.
Exactly.
Minimum.
And what they did do, was that included in the bare minimum of their job? I as a solution engineer, I can go and I can do a product demonstration, or I can do a whiteboarding session and take people through their processes, understand what they want to change, etc. Do I need to be as personable? Technically, no. Do I need to make all the recommendations beyond what they already know? Do I need to help break it down and identify where processes can be improved, even where it doesn't concern Redgate components? No. Do I need to blog about problems that people come across often? No. But these sorts of things that people do because they are wanting their customers to be successful, because they want their colleagues to be successful, because they want to share knowledge, because they want to communicate, because they care about their job. They care about their career. And when you care and you do things and nobody recognizes that, you're not doing it for recognition. That's the first thing you should say, right? Is that nobody who's great at their job does it just for the recognition. They do it because, any reason from they want to earn lots of money all the way through to they just like to help people. And when someone does a good job, call it out. Practice gratitude, because not only are you making that person really happy because you're recognizing something they've done, but you're also inspiring others around you to share the gratitude that they have. Gratitude begets gratitude. I think one of my favorite phrases, you'll have to forgive me if I get this wrong, I think it was a quote from Buddha, and it's like, the light from a candle can be shared without diminishing the light of the candle itself.
Ah,
Like 1,000 candles can be lit from a single candle without diminishing its own light. And I think that's the same with gratitude, is you can light someone else's candle and at no detriment to yourself. So why wouldn't you do it?
I like that. That's very nice.
Yeah, isn't it though? We like at Redgate,
And it comes back to a cultural thing, right? Like have a culture of appreciation.
Absolutely. And at Redgate, we have one thing, we have the appreciation channel on our Slack. And you could do this on Teams, on Slack, on Yammer, whatever it is you've got in-house, however your employees communicate. But if you don't already have it, maybe think about establishing it, because sometimes it's just really nice to call out the amazing work that the people around you do that make you happier. And by sharing that, you make them happy. And by sharing happiness, it makes you happy.
Hey.
That's a good way to be happy in the workplace.
All right. So I'll take number 3 then. Thank you, Chris. Give yourself a break.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm a big fan of reasonableness, and reasonableness in the workplace, I think, also comes down to being reasonable with your own time. I don't think that a lot of modern, especially in the IT world, modern workplaces could or should necessarily operate under like a clocking in, clocking out time-based system. Now, obviously, in some roles that isn't true. Like you literally need time cover to support, for example, a certain time window. But for the most part, if you need to come into the office at 10 and you have to leave at 4, then that's perfectly reasonable. As long as you do what you need to do to get done, as long as you cover the hours that you've promised that you would, that's fine. Just, take that break around the things you need to get done and don't work yourself into the ground. Realize that, you're only effective for a certain amount of hours in a given day. So don't smash through it. It's hard to say no to people, but when people take your time for say lunch with a crucial meeting that can't be done at any other time, realize that sometimes people won't value your time unless you value it first. And there's all kinds of different ways to take a break. It doesn't have to literally be take an hour to stare at a green wall. It doesn't have to be your equivalent of whatever having a cigarette break is. Sometimes it can just be taking a moment and having a nice deep breath.
Yeah.
But take a break. Have a
I love and KitKat is not affiliated with this podcast. However, I do completely. If we push it hard enough, I do completely agree with you. There is one video actually that I would recommend. If you go to YouTube, that little known video sharing site,
or http://www.youtube.com.
Yep. Exactly. If you go to that website, that little known the video sharing website, and you look for meditate in a moment, there is a video on there about meditating in as small a period of time as absolutely possible. I learned about this one on the Action for Happiness course. There's a really good website, Action for Happiness. It's a movement that's spreading globally about reclaiming your happiness. And I would highly recommend Action for Happiness. My wife and I actually led an Action for Happiness course over the summer of, I think, 2018 or 2019. So long ago now. But one of the first videos they get you to watch is this kind of meditate in a moment. And honestly, it's a fantastic little video that just inspires you to be more mindful, even in situations that are challenging, and how to use breathing to your advantage to take control of the situation and your emotions. Another good one that I'd recommend, just as a bonus tip, podcasts. Podcasts are always a good way to
record a podcast.
Record a
really good way
podcast,
to drink beer.
listen to some podcasts. It's a really good way to drink very strong beer.
Tweet at people who write podcasts.
Absolutely. Tweet us and let us know what makes you happy. Please, honestly, I could just use a tweet. Any tweet. It doesn't have to be a big one. Just let me know what makes you happy.
You know what else makes me happy, Chris?
What?
The news.
The news.
You know what else makes me happy, Chris?
Data breaches.
Data breaches do not make me happy.
Oh, but what about data breach news?
Data breach news, it similarly doesn't make me happy.
Oh, all right.
It's like, these are tragedies. Granted, small tragedies in terms of, human scales, but they're tragedies.
I write
anyway,
sins, not tragedies.
Hey. Take me all the way back to 2006, why don't you?
Absolutely. Is it 2006?
What makes me happy is seeing tech giants get fined for doing bad things.
Yes.
So the one quick bit of news we'll go through today, because we only really have a minute left before we should end this. Let's do it at lightning quick pace.
Go, Chris.
Ireland's Data Protection Commission, the DPC, has just announced €225 million, which is $267 million fine for WhatsApp. Ooh,
$267 million. That's an oof.
Oh, yeah. So there are a lot of complaints about WhatsApp. The investigation has taken a while. It's a pretty beefy one, 266 pages. And it's been discovered that has been a volition.
Oh.
Yeah,
I love the facial expression you just made there. It was impressive.
I'm trying
Sorry, everyone who's listening to the podcast.
So yeah, the inquiry has considered that the transparency obligations to users and non-users of its service weren't up to mustard, in short. But importantly, this is just against WhatsApp and not Facebook as a wider entity.
Well, no, but it will still... I suppose it being a GDPR fine, theoretically, it could be levied against the parent company. So Facebook are quite lucky that it hasn't been levied against them for global revenue, because that would be beyond the millions. That would be up into the billions easily.
Yes. And, there's already a lot of news at the moment about Facebook and data and all the terrible, terrible things they do with it. So
yes, indeed.
But yeah.
So that's one to look out for. Yeah, go and have a look at the WhatsApp data breach. Very, very interesting GDPR fine. Will it stop me using WhatsApp? Probably not, but still important to safeguard your users' data privacy anyway. We do have a couple of bits of news, interesting news as well.
Non-data breach news?
Non-data breach news, no. However, there is I can't even speak now. This beer has absolutely... Hello, my name is Chris. So, 3 bits of news. Number 1, very quick rundown of events coming up over the next month or so. So if you're listening to this in the back end of September 2021, then you will know that there are some events coming up on... oh gosh, what are we on? The 21st.
We're in January, Chris.
On the 29th of September, 2021, you have Future Data Driven Summit. October the 9th, Data Saturday, number 10 in Sofia in Bulgaria. October the 16th, my 30th birthday. That is Data Saturday, Minnesota. And then, of course, at the beginning of November, one we'll cover again at the time is Dfinity, and then followed by a little thing called Past Data Community Summit. We'll be banging on about that probably every month until it happens, but very, very much looking forward to that. So do please feel free to go and join us. If you want to keep track of some of these events as well, you can do so at sequelsaturday.com. They've got a little list of SQL Saturdays and also other events as well. There are also a few events, I think, being maintained by the PowerShell community, but I would have to double check those because I don't know. The second thing that I would mention as well is that if you go to flywaydb.org, then there's a very exciting new piece of functionality that allows you to spin up instant copies of your dev databases in the cloud for free. It's a piece of technology from Redgate called Spawn, and it integrates perfectly with Flyway for setting up some lovely pipelines that you definitely can do. In fact, I will be using Spawn and Flyway as part of my Azure DevOps pipeline for some little thing past Data Community Summit. Anyway, not important.
Ooh.
No, I will be using it, but the focus of the session will be on Azure SQL Database specifically, so slightly different. But you can do so and get started spinning up these dev databases for free. If you just go to flywaydb.org and look at the top, you should see a flag that says new, spin up instant copies of your dev databases, learn more. Or you can go to flywaydb.org/documentation/spawn/overview.html. And you will find yourself with the ability to spawn instant databases for your CI/CD pipelines.
Hey.
The final thing that I want to say before we go as well is that join us next time. DBAle³is going to be a very, very exciting edition because we will be talking about neurodiversity, specifically neurodiversity within the data community. Yeah, I'm very, very excited. We will be joined by a guest, Chris Voss, who's going to be joining us all the way from...
What's his actual name? Surely we've not got a real...
Fortunately, we've got an actual Chris joining us. An actual Chris joining us for DBAle. So do please tune in and listen to DBAle³, and we thoroughly look forward to seeing you then. For now, though, we've run out of time, unfortunately, talking about all the things we're happy about, all the things we're grateful for. But Chris, one thing is clear.
We need to work to adopt more Chris's into the world. It is clearly a struggling name.
I was going to say that I'm grateful for you.
Oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
But for now,
I'm grateful for all the time that I don't have to spend with you anymore.
And on that note, cheers.
Thanks, Chris.